Good morning. We are moving on to still surface area, but instead of rectangular prisms, we are moving on to triangular prisms. Now, rectangular prisms, we had that kind of perfect formula. As long as you wrote it at the top of your paper, you'd be good. That 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times height times width. Now, our formula, it's not so much no formula, but it's not a perfect formula. It will change based on what type of triangular prism we're working with. Now, for today, we are working with the exact same type of triangular prism, so we will use a specific formula every single time. But just for the sake of understanding that next year it will change, I put no formula because it just depends. But again, today we're all working the same type of prism, so we will have a formula that we'll use the same way every single time. Alrighty, so a triangular prism is called a triangular prism because the base is a triangle, right? The bases are triangles. So we've got a triangle here, and then we've got the triangle at the bottom. And then we've got these sides that are connecting the triangles, right? So we've got a side here, and then a side in the front. Now, if we were to make a net of this triangular prism, it would look like what we've got over here on the right. So we've got our bases, so our triangles here, which I've already colored on the left. And then we've got each of our 3 faces, or the sides that connect the bases. So I think what a common mistake is that we only think there are 2 sides because we see one here, but we don't account for the one that's actually facing us, right? But it's kind of clear so that we can see the back. But we've got 3 sides total. So we do not have to draw a net every single time, but you just need to know that we've got 2 bases and then 3 of the faces. So 2 triangles plus 3 rectangles. So that's going to end up being our formula. The first kind of step is to write your figures. So when you go to write your formula, and again, surface area, that means that you are finding the area of each side, right? The top or the base, the bottom, and then each of the sides, and then we add them together. So the figures, it's saying, well, what are the bases? Well, the bases, we've got 2 triangles, plus we've got 3 rectangles. So that's kind of our formula. We are going to break it down and say, well, we need to find the area of 2 times one of the triangles. So the formula for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Because, again, we've got 2 of those bases. So if we find one of them, 1/2 base times height, and we multiply it by 2, we get the area of both. Plus 3 times one of the rectangles. So if you know this rectangle is 14, by 3.6, which is what we've got down here. If you know that you're finding this one, 14 by 3.6, well, if you multiply it by 3, you'll get this one, and this one, and this one all together. So 3 times the area of a rectangle is length times width. Now, let me show you why it works to do 3 times that rectangle. If you look down here at this, I'm going to zoom in for just a second, at this triangular prism. We have a triangle here, right? That's our base. But look at the sides of that triangle. This side, let's see, let me get my highlighter out. This side is 3.6 inches. This side is 3.6 inches. this side, even though it doesn't have something right next to it, if you look over to the back, it's 3.6 inches. So this triangle, if you had to classify the triangle by the length of the sides, this triangle is an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle. If you have an equilateral triangle, that means all sides are the exact same length, which means it's 3.6 by 14 to get this long rectangle. And then on the other side, it's, let me get a different color. This side is 3.6 by this whole length, the height of the prism is 14 still. All right, and then we've got the bottom, which this is 3.6, and it's by 14. So each of the rectangles are 3.6 by 14 inches. And that's only because it's an equilateral triangle. All of the sides of the triangle are the exact same. So if they're all the exact same, then this formula is the formula that you'll use. If they're not the exact same, our formula will change a little bit. But again, today we're working with all equilateral triangular prisms. So what I've just circled in red, this is the formula that we will use. All right, keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go ahead and work example 1. Again, you need a calculator next to you. If you don't already have one, get one. And let's work through example 1. It says find the surface area of the triangular prism. Now, the first step is to write out our figures. Well, it's a triangular prism, so we've got two bases that are triangles. So my first step is to write 2 times a triangle. So we've got one triangle. If we multiply it by 2, that will give us the area of both of them together. Then we also need to add the area of a side. And since it's an equilateral triangle, 3, 3, 3, then all of these sides are going to be the exact same. So if we find 1 and then multiply it by 3, we'll be good. Alrighty, the next step is to write our formulas for those figures. So we take the 2 times. Now a formula for area of a triangle, it's 1/2 base times height. If we don't already have that memorized at this point, we're doing something wrong. Bring down the addition. 3 times formula for area of a rectangle, length times width. All right, now just like so on your worksheet today, you will see figures and then you'll see formulas. Then you'll see plug in. So just like we did with our other rectangular prisms, we need to label what we know. So we know that we need, for our triangle, we know that we need our base, we need our height. For a rectangle, we need our length, we need our width. So let's look at our figure. I'm going to take away all my highlights. Oopsie. Not the right color. That's okay. Alrighty. So for our triangle, we've got, it says base. So the base of our triangle right here is 3 centimeters. So I'm going to put 3. The height of our triangle, remember it has to be perpendicular to the base. So this dotted line that's going down, it says that that is 2 centimeters. Alrighty, now the length and the width of our side. Well, let's look at one of them. So we've got this side. Remember, all of the sides are the same because it's an equilateral triangle. So we've got 4 for this bottom length. And then the side, the width, is this 3 centimeters. So we've got this side. Right here, is that working? There we go. 3 by 4. So our length and our width, 3. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Alrighty, 3 and 4. Alrighty, so now we plug in. So 2 times 1/2. The base was 3, height was 2, plus 3 times the length was 3, width was 4. Alrighty, and we simplify both sides. Now keep in mind, I can rearrange this to help me out a little bit. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 2 times 3. So 1/2 times 2 is 1, times 3 is 3. So 3 times 2, plus 3 times 4 is 12, so 3 times 12. Alrighty, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 3 times 12 is 36. So 36 plus 6, we get 42, and it's centimeters, and since it's area, it is squared. So as long as you label your base, your height, your length, and your width correctly, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and move on to example 2. Alrighty, it's an equilateral. Again, we're only working with that today, but let's talk about why. So this side, 3.6. This side, it says 3.6. Now this side isn't labeled directly right there, but if you look to the back, it's also 3.6. Alrighty, so our first step is to label our figures. We've got the triangle, right? We've got the front and we've got the back, so we've got 2 triangles. Plus, we've got 3 rectangles. And we have 3 rectangles because we've got one here, and we've got the one on, let's see, the bottom. And then we've got the one in the back. So we've got 3 sides. Now, we've got 4.8 here by 3.6. And since it's an equilateral triangle, it's all the same. Alrighty, so let's break down our formulas. 2 times 1/2 base times height, plus 3 times length times width. Now we label what we know. So for the triangle, we need our base, we need our height. For a rectangle, we need our length, we need our width. Okay, so our base for our triangle is this 3.6. Our height, remember, it has to be perpendicular to the base, so you're looking for that right angle symbol. So the height is also 3.6. The length for the triangle, or sorry, the rectangle is, we already labeled it in green, 3.6. The width is 4.8. So we definitely want our calculators here. We've got a lot of decimals. All right, so now we plug in 2 times 1/2. Our base was 3.6. Our height was 3.6. Plus 3 times, our length was 3.6, our width was 4.8. Alrighty, so here let's just use our calculators. For 1/2, I recommend making that 0.5 so it's easier to type in. So I'm going to do 0.5 times 3.6 times 3.6, and I get 6.48. So I'm going to do 2 times 6.48 plus, I'm going to do 3.6 times 4.8, got 17.28, and then I'm going to multiply the 6.48 times 2. And notice I'm breaking it down into one more step. Instead of doing 2 times 0.5 times 3.6 times 3.6, I'm breaking it down so I'm finding the area of the triangle, then multiplying it by 2. And that's only because if I make a computation error, or if you do, I will be able to see it on the quiz or on your homework and know exactly where you made that error. So 2 times 6.48 is 12.96. 3 times 17.28 is 51.84 plus 12.96, 64.8 inches squared, because it's area. Alrighty, so tonight, your homework. It says, what does it say? 777, numbers 1 through 5. I am going to change that. So you are not going to be doing page 777. I am going to be putting up a worksheet. It's going to have 2 problems on it. Just like our homework, our notes. It's short, sweet, to the point, because again, you're using the exact same formula and figures every time. You need to label it, but you've got 2 problems. You are going to show all of your work either on the worksheet if you print it out, which is fine, or in your notebook, which is what I would do. So just look at the worksheet on the computer and then do all of the work in your notebook. You have to show all of this work. You can use a calculator, but you still have to show each step. Again, it's only 2 problems, so I expect to see that. So, one more time, you are not doing page 777. I'll put a worksheet, and then I'll put my answer key, and you will submit it. Alrighty, please let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and I hope you have an awesome day.